Welcome to this special episode of Community Affairs. I'm Jessica Dartil with you. And today in our studio we have a very special person running for the elections November 7th. And she is Attorney Patria Colon with us. Attorney Frias Colon, welcome to Time Television.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Attorney Frias Colon, that you have already been elected for the primaries, and you are actually representing the Brooklyn Civil Court. That's the district that you will be running the general election in November 7th?
Correct. So as you know, in New York City, there are primary elections for each party. And then following the candidates that are selected by the constituents of those parties, then those candidates face off in the general election. So our general election will be November 7th. I am running for Kings County Civil Court Judge, and I was one of 11 candidates that ran for the Democratic primary. And on September 12th, I came in third place from 11 candidates. So I was very, very happy to see that our Bangladesh community also supported me, and that made a big difference, which allowed me to win the Democratic primary so that I can be the Democratic candidate for November 7th.
Yeah, and Attorney Frias Colon, can you have been a very successful attorney all your life, and you have been working for the family court, especially. That's your area of specialization. And what your expertise says is that you are an expert on juvenile delinquency practice. But can you just tell us what actually is making you run for this elections and run for the civil court bench?
That is a really great question. And you know, throughout my career as an attorney, I've been an attorney for over 23 years. And I started in the district attorney's office, where I prosecuted many domestic violence cases, among other cases, including a homicide. And then I only left the district attorney's office to do administrative prosecutions when teachers, principals, custodians wronged our children that went to public schools in New York City. So I did that for 11 years. Now, since 2009, I am here as the borough chief. I worked as the borough chief in Brooklyn for juvenile delinquency cases. We also do interstate child support. But as a result of all my years in those various capacities as an attorney, one thing that I always understood is that the judge has the final decision. And judges have a lot of discretion in our judicial system. I certainly saw that when most recently we saw a federal judge put a stop to our current president's ban of immigrants coming in from certain countries. And I thought that that was very powerful, that the judicial branch of this country has really sufficient power to make sure that everyone is protected under the law and under our Constitution. And that ultimately was what prompted me to run for judge. And
so since the activities of a federal judge has some contribution for you to think about running this seat, what do you hope to accomplish when if you are elected as a civil court judge?
That's another great question. You know, one of the things that I've seen are some great, fantastic judges, right? Judges that if you have an issue, you go into that courtroom to try and get some support, try and get some resolution on your issue. And I've seen judges handle people very well, handle all their cases very well, be respectful, are knowledgeable, are timely. They don't waste your time. They don't waste the court's time. That's the kind of judge I want to be. I've also, unfortunately, have had experience with not such great judges. Judges who, you know, take too long to issue a decision on something that's so important to you for your case to proceed, or who disrespect our community when they come into the courtroom, have no judicial demeanor, very poor judicial demeanor. And so those are the things that I know I will not do. And when you come into my courtroom, you're going to find a friendly face, you're going to find a patient voice, you're going to have a knowledgeable judge, and you're going to have someone who's going to make a decision. Now look, when you have two parties, somebody's not going to be happy with the decision. But what I can say is that when you leave my courtroom, you will be satisfied that you have been heard. And that's something that I think is lacking sometimes in our courts.
So, Attorney Fresco, you think how your office is going to help the immigrant community? You yourself, you're an immigrant. Mm-hmm. You come from an immigrant community.
That's right.
And especially the South Asian community, and more specifically the Bangladeshi community.
Absolutely.
That given the fact that most of the Bangladeshis living in New York are Muslims, and they do face violations of their rights being Muslim. There is a hate crime, increase in hate crime in the city. So how you think that you'll be able to help these Muslim communities, and more specifically the Bangladeshi Muslims?
Well, the first thing that we have to understand is that this entire nation is built on the backs of immigrants. Some came here willingly, and some came here not so willingly. For example, our slave community, right? Yeah. Currently, today, and as you indicated, I am from Dominican Republic. So I came here as an immigrant, didn't know the language. I was very scared. I didn't know how my teachers were going to perceive me. I didn't know how, if my mother needed assistance, how they were going to perceive us. And we had a hard time. You know, people made a lot of negative assumptions about Dominicans when I came to this country. And they still do sometimes. But when our community, including our Bangladesh community, our Muslim community, come into the courts because either they're victims or because they have an issue that needs to be resolved, they're going to come into my courtroom, and we're going to make sure that they have interpreting services to make sure that they know what's going on every step of the way, if they need that. And there's going to be a patient court to make sure that when they leave, they understand what has happened, why the case is adjourned, and what is going to happen on the next date. And those are the types of things that I would hope to instill in myself and my staff, because I'm going to challenge myself to make sure it starts with me first. And if I am able to show my court staff, the court officers, the court reporter, the court clerk, all the people that work and are there to work for the community, I think that starting with me, and me as the example of how people should be treated and how the cases should be managed, I think we're going to be in great shape. And I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Attorney Fresco, one important question, I do not know, I would like to understand that if it's very much relevant. Now that the Trump administration is not working the way it should, it's not upholding the immigrant values that the United States have. Given the situation, you representing a civil court, if you're elected as a civil court judge, you think it'll be a challenge for you to lobby with the federal government?
Well, as a civil court judge, we don't really lobby with the federal government. But what I know I will do, and do effectively, is to apply the law that's presented to me to a set of facts in a neutral, objective manner, without making negative assumptions about the litigants, which is important, and without making assumptions about people's behaviors and cultures because maybe I don't know about them. And I think that what we need to recognize is that there are laws that dictate how we should behave in our society. And when those laws are broken, or when parties are injured, they come to court to seek refuge, to seek support, to seek resolution. And we are here to serve the community. And that's what I aim to do.
You if we look back at your personal life a little bit, you are a mother of 3 children.
I am.
And tell us something about how you manage juggle between your you being an attorney, and then in future you're going to be more busy
Yes,
if you're
yes.
elected, and then your family life.
You know, all my life, all my adult life, I married pretty young. I married at 21, and I married this wonderful man. His name is Robert Cologne.
3 blocks away from your mother's home.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he is the glue that holds us together, to be honest. My 3 children are wonderful, wonderful members of our society. They are respectful. They advocate for the community. We have tried to live by example for our children. You know, now my kids are older. My youngest is 17. My oldest is 26. And my middle daughter is 22. And they're doing great. You know, my older daughter is in graduate school right now. My middle daughter just graduated from college. She graduated at Rutgers at Camden. And my son will be a senior next year in high school. So it was a challenge, balancing work life with my personal life, motherhood, being a wife. But I had a very, very supportive husband and a very supportive extended family. My mother was always very supportive. You know, my first set of law books, my mother bought them for me. I couldn't afford them. And she went out and she bought me my first set of, so I owe everything to this big village that has helped me along all the way. So I do not take my successes as if they're mine, not at all. Our success, or where I am today, has truly, truly been a group, a collective effort. And I'm really excited about
great to know
taking that, you know, paying that forward. That's really important.
Yeah. You do a lot of other activities in the community. Share some of your activities, like you're part of the Jack and Jill. You're probably the finance secretary, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
And tell us something about the community activities that you do.
Right. So, you know, one of the things that I wanted to instill, not just in my children, but my nieces, my nephews, I have godchildren, is that the only way that, well, what I've always tried to instill in them is that if you see an issue, you have to try and resolve the issue. And if you don't resolve the issue, then you're part of the problem. So if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And so the way I've handled that is to be able to be part of the community. So I have, you know, a member of Jack and Jill. It's a wonderful mothers organization. It's a national organization, and we have a Brooklyn chapter. Some wonderful sisters that we pull together our limited financial resources, and we do great things for our community. I'm also a member of the Coney Island Polar Bear, which is really a fun organization. And, you know, we work when we start in November. Every Sunday in November, we swim in Coney Island through April. So we go through the whole winter. We love to come out and when it's snowing to Coney Island Beach. But I also am a member of Brown Memorial. It's a church. It's a wonderful faith-based organization that has been very supportive. And through the faith-based communities, we do so much wonderful work. So I try and align myself with organizations, you know, the Dominican Bar Association, which is the Association of Dominican Attorneys. Mm-hmm. We've helped many attorneys become judges. We've also do a lot of work with our communities. We do, right now we're focusing our efforts on the relief for all the devastation that have happened in Dominica, in Puerto Rico, in Texas, in Florida. And so we do all of those things to really try and pay our good fortune forward when we can.
Coming back again to your work, as we said earlier, that you are an expertise. You have your expertise on juvenile delinquency practice. We would like to know something more about the DACA issue that is being dealt with the Trump administration. Mm-hmm. How do you perceive this DACA, and if you are an elected judge for the civil rights, how you think you are going to contribute to the restoration of or to protect this DACA members?
Well, as long as our federal government, and my understanding is that as of today, DACA is still in existence. So as of today, we have DACA protection. And this is really young people who have contributed so much to the community financially, they're educationally. These are really great people that I think our country wants to preserve, and they're here by no fault of their own. And so, you know, for now, DACA is in place, and so we would ensure that anyone that comes before me who happens to have DACA protection will get that protection.
We have talked a lot about your work and your community activities. The last question that I would like to ask you is, Attorney Fries Colon, we all know that all work, no play makes Jack a dull boy. So what does Attorney Fries Colon like to play to
that's a great,
keep going?
Yes, that's a great question.
What's your passion?
Well, my passion is I love to be with my family and just have downtime with my family. I like to let my hair down with my family. So whether it's with my sisters, my brother, my children, my husband, that's really when I'm most at ease, when I can relax. We party together, we eat together, we celebrate together, and that's really how I manage my stress level with the kind of work that I do. So that's really the main thing. I love to dance. That's also, you know, very healthy for us. We love to laugh. That's also very important. It keeps the spirit young. And I think that's what I like to do.
Thank you, Attorney Fries Colon, to be in our studio, and it was great knowing your activities and all that you would like to do for the community if you're elected.
Thank you. I would just like to say to the Bangladesh community, I want to thank you for all your support during the Democratic nomination and the Democratic primary, and because of your support, I was able to move forward to the general election. So I ask that you come out again November 7th, and you vote for Patria, Frias Colon, for civil court judge. Thank you so much. And remember, to whom much is given, much is required.
Thank you, Attorney Colon.
Thank you so much.
Today, we just end our show here, and next week we'll be up with another guest. So till then, stay tuned.